All right, so that's go button number 1. And there's go button number 2. No, the go button number 2 not. Oh, there it goes. All right, we are live and live and streaming. Yes, that's the word.
All right.
Oh, and Brian is on the line with us, so we'll put the Brian picture up. Yeah. So last show of 2019.
Yippee.
Yippee. Apparently Lulu will be here in a moment. Now she said that about 40 minutes ago. But that's the great thing about the terminology a moment, because a moment is such a vague terminology. Generally understand to mean shortly, but shortly is also vague. I mean, a day is pretty short compared to a millennia. So
everything's relative.
it's all relative. So, when she says she'll be here in a moment, she could show up here in 2025, and when you take the whole space-time continuum of all time into consideration, that's pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Something you might want to keep in mind the next time your mother asks you to clean your room, which, if you're of the age that your mother's asking you to clean your room, you should not be listening to this. So please go clean your room and turn this off.
I'm not quite expecting that.
Who knows? Well, I mean, who's watching Twitch these days? I mean, that's what all the kids are watching, the Twitch these days, right? So,
I guess.
Yeah, but they're probably watching Fail Army. And speaking of Fail Army, we got Venison on the line. Well, I hit the
almost.
I hit the button, and that sounds like Venison's audio equipment.
Yeah.
Hey,
we got Venison on the line, so now we got the Venison picture up, and we're just waiting for that moment to go by for Lulu to call in. But in the meantime, we may as well open the show up. So let's hit that button there and push that button there. And once again, it's time for everyone's favorite internet radio show.
Insert title here.
The internet radio show that changes titles so often, we had to put a placeholder in. We are so much... We are such a good internet radio show. We are beyond internet radio that we added video to it, and we still call it radio because we're beyond radio. We are beyond what we're doing. I don't know. I'm ad-libbing this, and it's not quite coming out good.
completely beyond.
We are beyond. We're doing beyond what we're doing.
You're treading in other people's territory.
We are so beyond we're out of our minds.
We still call it radio, even though we've been doing this in front of cameras for years now.
So here is a quick topic for you, Johnny.
Okay.
I realize you have many forms of audio media.
Yeah.
You got some wax cylinders, right?
Yeah, they're right behind me on the shelf. Yeah, I got cylinders
yeah,
up there.
You got some various Bakelite and vinyl discs.
I got,
right?
I got the vinyl on the 45s and the LPs. I got the shellac 78s. I got the 8-track cartridges, the reel-to-reel tapes. The
absolutely open reel. Is there anything that you're missing?
Well, I don't have anything to play back the cylinders.
But no. As far as the media itself.
As far as the media itself,
I mean, you've got CDs, you got SACD, you got all these different. You got DVD surround, right?
I'm missing a lot, actually. If you go over the entire history of recorded music, because I mean,
but you also have cartridges for commercial music
background music
like
systems, right? Yeah, I got background system,
right.
Which
I know a big one that you don't have.
A big one I don't have. Well, I don't have El Cassette.
Huge. What?
I don't have El Cassette. El Cassette.
Okay, so that's on your list. You gotta get that.
Yeah. There are a lot of different tape-based cartridges that I don't have.
You don't need to have every, if it's a cartridge, I mean, you got cassette, you got 8-track, you got these
I mean, there's
commercial things.
I do have
You're not gonna
4-track
be able to get
cartridge,
every
but there were
single
different
one.
there were different types of carts over the years. I don't have radio carts. I mean, it's
What's
just,
an
Do you have? Did DAC come in an audio version? They use for video. Early videotape, digital video.
there was a digital there was a digital cassette tape that was an attempt at making a commercial digital tape. But of course that came out around the same time as CDR was coming out, and CDR, was obviously
Took over.
whole lot more convenient, and the price dropped really fast.
So what if I gave you the name of a musician
Mhm.
that made all of his money in this media form that you don't have? Would that make you want to go get it?
You seem rather confident I don't have this form.
Okay, here's the musician,
Uh-huh.
George Gershwin.
Okay, you're right. I don't have
He
piano
made
rolls.
all of his money in scrolls for player piano.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. You took a risk there, because you could very well see me passing by a box of piano rolls in some kind of a antique store, picking one up and going, what, 50 cents? Yeah, I'll buy that, put it on my shelf. And I have held piano rolls in my hand, but I've never gone as far as to go, well, how much would one of these piano rolls cost? So yeah, you got that one right. I don't have a piano roll. I have held piano rolls.
Yeah, I thought you might have, but having them, and I didn't realize. I mean, George Gershwin was an amazing musician.
Right. Yeah, and composer, performer.
Yeah. All around.
Yeah. No, and I mean, piano roll was big. I mean, because piano was big before. When you get into the era of before recorded music, or even in early recorded music when that was expensive. I mean, a lot of families had a piano, and usually someone in the family knew how to play it. But having a player piano, being able to buy a roll, certainly spared you a lot of time and practice. So yeah. What's really sad, though, is hearing Scott Joplin's piano rolls. He was suffering from what was it? What STD did he get? The one that makes you go crazy.
Syphilis.
Syphilis.
Yeah, the same one as Capone.
Yeah, and I think there's now there are some piano rolls of Joplin that sound all right, but there's also the question of how much of it is Scott Joplin's playing and how much of it is embellishment notes that were added onto the roll after the fact. And that's kind of a bummer that you're getting Scott Joplin's playing with enhancements. And speaking of enhancements, we got Lulu on the line.
Hello?
Way cool.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, we're all here now.
Yeah.
Gang's all here, so we get everyone's pictures up here. There we go. And we're just talking about syphilis.
Syphilis? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was kind of a detour.
Did Venison get syphilis?
No. Scott Joplin got syphilis. Now,
Scott Joplin.
I've got another illness. Stop trying to kill me.
let's see if I can find.
Hey! I was trying to send your ass to the emergency room over Christmas, asshole, because I was worried about you.
Speaking of which, so Venison, how are you doing?
Recovering.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
slowly.
Now, for those that pay attention to social media, Venison has the world's worst neighbors. Most people, if they look out their window and they see someone like having a stroke out in the front yard, will pick up a phone and call someone. And I don't mean like they're going to call like their cousin over in the next town and go, would you believe what that guy's doing out in our front yard right now? No, they would call like
I bet they did that.
No. You want to call the amber lamps, to quote some guy on a bus. The ambulance. You want to call the ambulance. What's wrong with your neighbors, Venison? What did you do to these people?
Or 911.
Yeah, 911.
You know?
That'll get an ambulance over there.
I mean, they were all nice and all like that. I thought we had it off good. And now my voice is back to like being, what the hell happened? It was fine 4 hours ago.
Yeah,
They have to,
go ahead.
they don't know 911. They have to call 411 to get 911.
You gotta call information. Call 411. Well, who do you call to get the number for 411?
311.
Wasn't that a band?
Maybe. And if you don't know that, then it's star 69. But hey.
And when the ambulance arrive and you're in the Bay Area, you call 511 to see what the route conditions look like on the way to the hospital.
And then you stop by the 711 for a big gulp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you might get thirsty on the way.
Whatever happened is on the O for operator.
I think you can still do that, but you get a recording that says, like, we can't help you, so hang up.
Right.
That's
If this is
nice.
an actual emergency, dial 911. Of course, if you're on the rest of the planet someplace, it's 999.
You know what? Dialing operator for the operator can be confusing because sometimes you don't get the operator you think you're going to get. And I'm talking about in an office situation. Because now Brian will be somewhat familiar with this. Because when we worked together at Tharco, Tharco has several offices across the country. And so I needed to get a hold of someone in the Seattle office. So I called an extension at the Seattle office and no one picked up. I called another extension at the Seattle office and no one picked up. And at some point, I basically went to like leave a message or something. And at some point I got to the automated system and it said, for the operator, press 0. So being that I called the Seattle office and I was connected to the Seattle office and the Seattle office had a receptionist at the time, I dialed 0 expecting to get someone in the Seattle office. And someone picked up and said hello. And I said, hey, this is, Johnny Gators over at the, San Francisco office, and I'm trying to get a hold of someone over there for such and such a reason. Could you, and they say, oh, hi, Jonathan, this is so-and-so at the front desk. This is not...
How did I get there?
This is, you're talking to... You're talking to the front desk. You're not talking to someone in Seattle. Maybe you should try calling Seattle. And it's one of those awkward moments where you feel like an idiot. And
in fact, would there be an operator in the Phoenix office since that was just a small warehouse?
Well, this was the Seattle office.
And would you get San Francisco, Southern California?
Well, I think Phoenix might have had extensions that were based off of Southern California's office. So I would have, but then again, hitting 0 because I was dialing internally. I don't know if it was that operator defaulted to San Lorenzo's front desk for every office, or if it's because it knew I was dialing internally and so it brought me to my local operator.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
But at least I was doing better than the people in the Southern California plant who kept calling 911 by accident. Unlike Venison's neighbors, who intentionally didn't dial 911.
Of course, even funnier than that, if you're going to take a flight from San Francisco to Portland, Oregon, you're going there by way of Phoenix.
Right. Wait.
Not really related to our conversation, but what the hell?
No, I've flown from San Francisco to Portland many times. I've never gone by way of Phoenix. I've always gone direct.
Well, that's the flight that I would pick as well.
Yeah. No, there's I visited the Phoenix office twice, and I think that was because I kept drawing the short straw. Actually, twice or once. Maybe it was once, and it felt like twice. I don't even know anymore. I've lost track of all of that.
How many melted items did you find?
I don't know. I found the Phoenix office was the office that I found a CRT monitor propped up on its side because someone hit a Control-Alt side arrow button by accident and couldn't figure out how to fix that. And I said, "Oh, while you're here, could you fix that?" And I'm like, "Oh, you don't want that way." Reached out, hit 3 buttons, and bam. And I mean, to them, it looked like magic because, someone spent at least a good solid hour trying to get this computer to display properly on the screen. And it might have actually belonged to someone else at some point, and they might have swapped it out for the spare. I don't know if they accidentally fucked up the spare or that became the spare because the display was fucked up. But either way, that was sitting there over on the spare desk. And I, while I'm there, they're like, "Oh, while you're here, could you fix that?" "Oh, you don't want that way?" Click. And it's like, how did you do that? You just, you didn't even, you just pushed a button. You literally just reached out, pressed 3 buttons.
Yes, let me get out my toolkit.
I let them in on the secret.
Right.
That's really, of course, people think that every fix is like that. You do that one time, and then that's what they think you do to fix everything.
Yes.
Well, my favorite is when you come over to the guy's desk, and then the problem just goes away. And this is what you do. Well, I just came over.
Yeah. Still, my favorite was what was the name of the older lady in shipping that was forced to retire? I forget her name.
I don't remember.
I feel bad how many people's names I've forgotten. How it's amazing how long it's been since I worked there. But yeah, she is one of my favorite calls of all time. Help desk extension rings. I pick it up. "Hi, this is so and so over in shipping. The mouse cable fell out of the back of my my tower." Okay.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it fell out the back. Do you want me to come over there and plug it back in? Yes, please. What else could I do but walk over and plug in her mouse?
You kind of go, "Don't
Can
you?"
change the batteries in my mouse, please? It's not working.
It's a corded mouse.
Right.
I could drill out an area and put batteries in there. That won't do anything. Oh, she was it's funny how different people can do the same things, and you don't even realize it until something happens. Because the San Lorenzo office would often page out in the plant if they needed to get a hold of someone, because the phone system had a page option where you dialed something and it would page out over all the speakers. So-and-so, please call this extension. And people had an annoying habit of putting the paging system on hold because the paging system was an extension. So you could, what would happen...
Right.
And it took me a while to figure out what they were doing. What would happen is someone would try to call someone's extension, like let's say Rich, it's over in the back office by door 13. So, you can't just walk up to his desk because you got to walk all the way to the other fucking side of the plant. And Rich doesn't pick up the phone, so you get Rich's voicemail. So you hang up and you pick up really quick, putting Rich's voicemail box on hold, where you think you're hanging up and you're picking up, but if you do the hang up pickup real quick on this office system, it would put that on hold, and that's a way you could kind of go back and forth between two calls or initiate a 3-way call. So they basically are not leaving Rich a voicemail, but they have Rich's voicemail on hold, not realizing it. Pick up line 2. And then they dial the paging system on line 2. And they make the page, Rich, please call extension blah, 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 blah. Rich, please call extension blah, 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 blah. And then they hang up. And when you hang up, you transfer the call on line 2 to the call that you had on line 1. Because that's a way you could transfer if you don't. Right. And that is why the paging system would keep getting stuck on hold. And then someone go and try to page and get a busy signal, and then they call the help desk, go ahead, paging system's broken again. And we would basically go and turn the paging box off and back on, which would, force the call. That's the only thing we could do, because we had no idea who did it or when it happened. And so we found that if we, turn that box off, turn it back on, it would hang up the call and free it up again. And let me tell you, anytime this happened, within 5 minutes of it happening, we were getting, screaming, we need our paging. We can't page people. We can't work like this.
That's right. Or you can't send those secret codes. That means somebody wants to hide his drugs because the supervisor's coming over. Yeah. Oh, no, that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole different topic. I don't know where you were working, but that was...
that was at Tharco in the early days.
Oh, wow. Wow. This is before...
You'd hear the guy go into the pager, and you hear these different tones. Beep up, like someone screwed up. No, he didn't screw up. He was telling people, hide your drugs.
Wow. Yeah.
I
was not there for that. I remember the time where the GM accidentally put the phone down without hanging up after putting the page on and then started cursing at someone in his office. I was the fastest I saw my phone run down the hallway.
So this section is called Shit You Don't Do with a Pager.
Damn it, Shane.
He was a gem.
Oh yeah, he was special. But so meanwhile, Dale was talking to someone in Southern California one day, and they kind of mentioned, well, we got this problem, we got that problem, we got this problem. Oh, I should mention, the paging system hasn't worked for about 3 weeks now. So when you have a chance, could you take a look at that? And that floored us. That for 3 weeks, this office was unable to page, and they mention it as by the way. No big deal.
And they don't use it that much.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in our office, 5 minutes goes by without being able to page, and oh my God, it's the end of the fucking world. I can't page any. How am I supposed to get anything done? So, sometimes you don't really think about that, how different things can be from one office to another, even when you're doing the exact same thing. 'Cause both these buildings are making corrugated boxes. They're doing the exact same thing, but man, they do it really differently.
Well, and the back would have all these different technologies to use. They'd have radios, right?
Right.
Back in the good old days, before Nextel was bought up by, was it Sprint?
Mm-hmm.
Nextel had a feature on their cell phones that essentially you could use it like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, I remember commercials for that.
So they were using that for a while. Of course, then when Nextel was bought out and that service kind of vaporized, they had to come up with another solution.
So now, to go back to Venison and his neighbors, though. So, Venison, did you get yourself some medical attention after the neighbors didn't call anyone? Or I hope you're not just self-medicating. All right, I guess he stepped away from the... Should we send someone to check on him?
We'll see. We haven't heard from him because he was kind of not part of the conversation, unfortunately.
Okay, well...
Hello, Venison.
Okay, meanwhile, Lulu, I'm sure Lulu has made many a page in her time.
What?
Hello, Lulu, how's it going?
Oh, it's going fine.
Lulu here is I don't know. Do we talk about social media? I mean, if it's on social media, it's fair to talk about, right? So Lulu, I think, is got the living with family blues.
I guess. Well, my camper's falling apart.
Oh,
In the last month.
Oh.
so now,
That's why I'm moving back in the house.
oh, I see. So you were.
Oh.
So this is you had your own space. Your own space is falling apart. So now you're sharing space.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. Like, first went the roof with a major leak. So I had to throw a tarp over it.
Yeah.
Then went the water with a leak in the bathroom, so I had to turn the water off. And then last week was the propane. I had a propane leak last week, so I had to turn off my propane.
So okay, lost the roof, lost the source of water, lost the source of heat.
And
But other than
cookies.
that, it's perfectly fine.
The camper decided it was going to turn into a
It's
crappy refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's all walls and floor. That's all you got.
It's just all walls and floor. So I have electricity. I have electricity.
Walls and floor and electricity, which is a great combination. No roof and electricity. That's okay. The water's off. Without the roof,
Yeah.
the rain will come in. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh
so,
man. So yeah.
So I'm moving back into the house,
Well-
and
Now it's you, your mom, and the boyfriend. Is there anybody else?
and my sister and her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Um,
how many bathrooms?
There's 2 bathrooms, 2 full bathrooms.
5 people, 2 bathrooms. Okay, this is.
And how many bedrooms?
2 bedrooms. No, 3 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms.
Okay. All right. That's.
My dad died in the bedroom that I'm moving into.
That's not at all uplifting. That's.
I'm currently painting the walls, the ceiling, and ripping up the carpet. And I got into an argument with my mom's boyfriend over the flooring at Home Depot
Mhm.
because he thinks I'm a rich bitch on Social Security, and he thinks mommy is made of money because he thinks I'm going to ask mommy for money, which I'm trying not to.
Well, no, that's the camper money. That's the.
Well, I mean, like, they can either fix up the camper for me,
No,
which I don't have money for.
the Craigslist
you know.
camper that they need to get like the Western Union payment. That I was referencing
Yeah,
that
right.
story.
I know, right? But so to shut his ass up, I turned to my mom with a smile and I said, "I'm going to rip up the carpet and seal the concrete and paint it." And she goes, "What the fuck?"
So the house
says
is on a
this in the
slab.
store. She says this in the store. And I turn to my mom's boyfriend and I smile. And he didn't say a word.
Nice.
It was like, all right, motherfucker, you don't want me to spend or have help buying flooring of any kind? I'm just going to live on concrete. And I'm going to seal the fucker and make it my own color. And put down area rugs when I can afford it. Fuck you.
Right on.
Yeah, looks like we got a feud.
We just need to add some cameras. We got ourselves a good reality TV show cooking right here. Is what we got.
Right.
Oh, it is a reality show, man. It really is in my house. Oh my god, it is. This is why I moved out to the fucking camper last year,
Yeah.
because it's fucking crazy. And he was trying to decide for my room, and I'm like, bitch, please.
So did we talk about the show on Netflix called Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, that's been mentioned.
Yes.
And so I get the feeling that you're really close to that place.
Yes.
Schitt's Creek. There we go. Yeah. Anyways, so this is usually the time of the year where we look back and we talk about all the great, happy, uplifting, fun-filled. Maybe 2020 will be better. Maybe, you know.
Happy?
No, you
The
don't
whole
think so?
decade was fucking screwed.
Well, I don't know. The beginning of the decade wasn't so bad.
2020, we're all going to die.
I mean, there were many years in this decade that we didn't have a raving lunatic in the White House.
Oh no.
It wasn't until 2016 that the literal shit hit the fan, because someone can't figure out how to hold down the flusher to make it all go down in one flush.
Right.
See,
15 times it takes.
I'm a grown-ass man. I know how to operate a modern toilet. You hold down the lever when you need more water to go down. It's not rocket science.
You can wait for the tank to refill.
You could do that.
And flush again.
I have never needed to go more than 2 flushes. Sometimes I gotta do the second flush. The courtesy flush. Maybe a third. Maybe a third. 15? No. I
never. Or even 10. The bottom of his range was 10. That's a shitload. Literally.
Well, back to Schitt's Creek, because I just saw that Five Hit Dune wrote in the chat room, I don't want to chase him off quite this soon. So let's just offer our apologies.
Dune says Lulu pedals.
Lulu pedals. I don't know what Lulu pedal. You pedal. You pedal. I don't know.
I tell it how it is.
Yeah.
I tell a story. My camper fucking sucks. I argue with my mom's boyfriend all the fucking time.
Yeah.
He's an Aries. I'm a Cancer. We butt fucking heads. I cry a lot because I'm emotionally unstable because I'm bipolar. And my meds fucking suck.
Ugh.
So I smoke pot.
That helps.
Do you have any cast iron frying pans?
No.
Oh, we have many. We even have a...
You know where they all are.
Have you practiced
one.
I know where everything is.
Have you practiced swinging one?
Yes.
And how many times show us on the doll where you hit him with the frying pan?
Lieutenant Commander Databerg says Lulu needs to chill the F out and stop making excuses.
It's no, come on.
That's okay. You can go eat my ass.
Walk a mile. Yeah. Easier said than done. It sounds like she's doing the best she can with the situation she's got. That's what I'm hearing. It's rough, it's tough, and she's sucking it up and she's making it work. And sometimes that means getting creative with the flooring.
I think that was a cool idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if you kind of say, well, I don't like this anymore, you can always do something again later.
Mm.
Yeah, I can always...
The nice thing about painting is you don't have to rip it up when you change your mind, right?
Well, right.
Exactly. And also because my dad shit and pissed on the fucking floor and died on the floor, I need to seal the concrete anyways.
Yeah, that carpet's got to go, it sounds like.
Yeah, it smells like piss and shit.
Ooh, yeah.
So before I even put down flooring, I have to seal it.
Yeah. So, how was everyone's Christmas?
This was
Mm. Ah.
Well, we've heard a bit about venisons already.
Him lying in the fucking snow.
What was the temperature like? Jesus.
Oh wow, yeah, really. 16.
Oof.
Yeah, that way you were there 20 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, 16 degrees,
Dude.
laying out in the snow for 20 minutes.
Even if you think that it's just, a little too full with the holiday spirit, you at least drag the guy into warmth. What is wrong with your neighbors?
I
Or
don't
you're just
know.
oblivious. I don't know.
I don't get this. No, but no, I had a good Christmas. Traveled home to Jersey, got to see the family.
Had some of that Jersey pizza?
Had some of that. No, I had some of that Christmas roast beef.
And how did that cheesecake work out?
Great.
Super.
Everyone loves the cheesecake. I was so nice enough to share the entire process with Dune, because we know how much Dune loves cheesecake, that I tweeted pictures of every step of baking the cheesecake.
Step one, get out the easy bake oven, right?
Oh no, this one right in the real oven. And no easy bake. We ain't cooking with light bulbs in this house.
You know what sucks? Can you imagine trying to replace that light bulb in your easy bake oven?
Oh man,
Because an LED bulb just won't work the same.
Oh no. Do they still make the easy bake ovens, or is that considered?
I don't know.
Because that was the type of toy that was around for forever. Like, I never had that, because Easy Bake Oven was more of a girl's toy, even though really anyone can play with any toy. I'm not trying to fall into stereotypes, just that I think the gift we got one year was the Creepy Crawlers. Remember Creepy Crawlers? That was like, you got like the little bottles of the different colored like liquid rubber type stuff that you had the molds, the metal molds that would hold the heat from the bulb. And the thing is that the difference from like my parents' creepy crawlers and my generation's creepy crawlers is that there was a plastic door that was on these metal strips that held it up, that would kind of bend down a bit as it got warm. So it was like a safety door, so that you couldn't pull the tray out of the oven until out of the light bulb oven until it cooled down. Because now they gave you like a kind of a tray holder, so you don't have to pick up the hot metal tray and pull it out. And you did have a little bin of water that was the right size to drop it in. And my mom said, well, back when we were a kid, you pull it out and the metal was still hot. You put it in the water and it went psh. But by the time the door cooled enough and came up, it was pretty cool enough that it didn't do anything to put it in the water. So we removed the safety door so that we could pull the hot metal out and make it go psh and not have to wait to get our creepy crawlers. Because it was, assembly required. So we put the thing together, including the safety door that dropped down. So that meant with a few screws, we just, took that door right out, closed it back up, and had ourselves a good old school, one less safety feature, creepy crawler oven.
Fire hazard.
No, just a,
Good old fashioned fire hazard.
No, just a mild burn. You might, if you're dumb enough to touch the metal tray, you deserve to get the burn. They give you a plastic handle to lift the tray up and a tray of water to drop it into. There is no reason to touch the metal. You can do this all.
That's fun.
Right. No, half the fun is getting the shh sound when you drop it in the water. That's the fun.
So the current rendition of the Easy Bake Oven looks more like a microwave. And
they still make this?
It comes with a little tray that you slide in a slot with a special tool rather than opening like an oven door.
Huh. Well, yeah, that's the way the creepy crawlers work. It was a slot that you slid it into with the thing. So it looks like they're going with that model, but is it still using the light bulb though? See, I'm finding vintage ones on eBay. I'm not seeing a modern one though.
Yeah, I'm on Amazon, so
Oh,
and it's about
okay,
$40.
okay. Oh, you buying one?
No, I'm looking it up. See what's available.
Oh, you gotta
Oh,
take one
come
for the
on,
team.
man. They work great.
And it's by Hasbro.
Let's see.
Maybe they did something. And maybe the thing is, maybe the thing is sealed. So if the light bulb goes out, you just throw it away because that's the way we do things today.
That could be. One thing I gotta say is Amazon is really getting into the. There's no telling who or what you're buying from anymore, because like
Right.
I bought my Christmas gifts through Amazon, and I bought some games for the Switch off of Amazon for Kristen, and one of the games that she really wanted was Luigi's Mansion 3. So I went on to Amazon, and they were sold out of directly from Nintendo, but they had plenty of ships from U.S. third-party sellers that were selling Switch games for the same price with Prime shipping.
Right.
And I was ordering early enough that I wasn't too worried about things getting lost in shipping. That they should get here with time to spare. So I throw it in the cart. I buy it. It shows up. Luigi's Mansion 3. I wrap it up. I put it under the tree. And Kristen opens it up, and she's like, "Oh, this is great. This is awesome. This is what I wanted." And she flips the case over to read the back of it. And the back is in Italian, which is also known as not English. And so now we're like, why do we have the Italian region version of Luigi's Mansion 3? Because clearly a third party seller is either shipping things, either they're importing them from another country. Did Nintendo produce more for Italy than they did the United States, or is Italy not celebrating Christmas all that heavily, or what's going on? I don't know. But all I know is that what they had stock of was a European region game with a European language on it. And so now I'm worried, like, are we going to open it up and is Luigi going to be like zapping ghosts in Italian? Because, is it going to be instructing us in Italian? And so
is the region whatever going to work on your machine?
Right. And so we Googled it. Now, the first thing Google told us is that Switch games are not region locked, that you could play a Switch game on any Switch from any region, that there's none of the region locking. You want to buy games from Japan and play them here? You can. Now, the other thing is that Switch games can support multiple languages, and your Switch will try to play the game in your native language if the game supports your native language. So even though it won't default to the country that the game came from, if you put a Switch game in and you're in America and your Switch is set to English and you put in a game from Italy that has Italian and English, it will go, well, this user set his Switch to English, so since English is a valid option on this game, I'm going to play in English. So really the only question was, does the Italian version of Luigi's Mansion 3 have English? And sure enough, on the back of the case was a list of 20 different languages that are on the cartridge, which included English. So it acts just like any other copy Luigi's Mansion would and just plays in English, no problem. It's just that if we wanted to read what was on the back, we'd have to get a translator. So it was all good. It was just kind of funny how you buy.
Google can also translate.
Well, yeah. I mean, heck, you can do the thing with your phone now, and it'll because you could do that now. Where you put an app on your phone and just hold it up to like a menu or whatever, and it just translates on the fly for you, which is great. But yeah, so that was our fun little. But that's happening more and more often, where you buy things on Amazon and you think you're just buying it directly through Amazon, or you're buying it through a local retailer in your country, and then things get shipped to you. Like I heard a news story where someone needed to buy an electric toothbrush, so they went on Amazon, searched for the electric toothbrush, clicked on the first option that came up, shipped by Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon, and this European electric toothbrush with a U.S. adapter thrown in the package came. And it's like, okay, this works, but why didn't you just send me the US version of it? You know, and this is just kind of like, you know,
Right.
what's wrong with the world now that, you know, retailers are trying to sell us non-local stuff.
Very much. Because there's
Right.
another one where somebody tried to buy a stroller and car seat, and they got a knockoff.
Yes. Now that's where we're really going to see some real problems coming up, because people are getting that's the thing, is that people are selling knockoff stuff through Amazon, and that's all fine and dandy if it's a toothbrush or if it's a dryer ball or something like that. But when you start getting
So-
the knockoff safety items like car seats and they're falling apart and causing children injuries, that's a problem.
Right. And the car seat might not be approved to be used here.
Exactly. But
As simple as that. So maybe this is a good reason to have a tariff on anything built outside the U.S., right?
well, no, not
It'll be different for every country, okay? Oh, that's right. All our shit comes from China anyway, so never mind.
no. It's not tariffs. It's regulation and consequences for violating those. Now, because Amazon is playing this whole, we're a middleman, we don't want to take any responsibility for any of this shit. And you know what? The children's car seat
Sure.
story is the one where people are going to start standing up and taking notice, and Amazon's going to have to, step
Right.
up and do their fucking job. Because here's an example of the story where no one gets hurt. There was a guy that was selling barbecue utensils on Amazon. And this was something that he designed himself to a certain standard and charged a price that he made a small profit. He wasn't getting rich doing this, but he built them to a standard. And then they were selling. He was making a little bit of money doing this, and some third-party knockoff seller in China saw this, and so they built a look-alike set of these same barbecue utensils, sold them as the same item under his listing as a third-party seller of the same item.
Yeah. See, and that's one thing that I see wrong with Amazon.
Right.
They'll just hijack some listing to be sold by somebody else.
Well,
and
they'll
that's wrong.
they'll allow third parties to
These are
hijack
my-
listing.
These are my photos. These are my
Right.
these are my words. Now you're using
But-
that for somebody else.
but that's-
no wrong.
But that's the way they
I would be
treat.
suing Amazon for it.
But that's the
right?
way they treat all merchandise, because I mean,
Yeah.
on the one hand, certain merchandise is like if this store sells a CD, that store sells a CD. They're still selling the same CD. For organizational purposes, it makes sense to allow different parties to list under the same item. But when this guy creates a unique item and a knockoff company in China sells the same item or sells as the same item, but they made a inferior knockoff, here was the problem. One, because they were making it of a lesser quality, they were undercutting him, so people were buying the knockoff instead of his item. Two, the knockoff item sucked, so then he was getting the bad reviews for the knockoff items.
Hey, in the 80s, I was working for a small company that made memory cards for PCs, and we had a quote unquote customer that sent and we offered a lifetime warranty, which, by the way, with that company meant the lifetime of the company because the company's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so somebody sent us this board to be covered on warranty, and we looked at it and says, that is not our board.
knockoff.
And it even had our name printed on it.
Ooh.
So this was shit that was duplicated in China. We got a call from a guy in China that says, hey, we can make the boards for you even cheaper. And he told us how much, he would charge us. And the price was cheaper that he was selling to us, or would have sold to us if we went with it. It was cheaper than it cost us to make the board. So either we go with this guy or we say, you know what, we got to get out of this business because we're just not going to make it.
No.
Well, as you can see, the company went under, so that's part of the reason.
So they went with the third option.
Right.
To quote Gordon, I see you went with the third option.
Right.
Because what was it that finance guy that was working for Boise at the time, where him and Gordon were sitting down, and I guess Gordon kind of saw, well, we got a few options here. One, we could find new jobs now, or two, you could see how long they'll continue paying you before they fire you. Something to that effect. And I guess when word got to Gordon that he was let go, it was said something like, "Oh, I see you went for the second option."
Right.
I think that was the story you relayed to me, so I'm going all second, third hand on that one. So,
Sure. Okay.
oh man, he was a trip. He was a real riot. But anyways,
I liked him. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is why, and you gave me a little bit of a hard time about this the first time I said it. But this is why I only buy SD cards from a brick and mortar store, because at this point, even when you try to buy something directly from Amazon, it's not always clear that who you're buying it from. There have been many times I thought I was buying something from Amazon, and it was fulfilled by something and came from I don't know what warehouse from where. But Amazon might have shipped it, but it so I have been a very, very common scam. Take a small SD card, reformat it to show up as being a big SD card, and it'll work perfectly fine until you go over the actual storage space that is really on the SD card. So,
Right.
it's only like a 2 gig SD card. It says it holds 64 gigs. And once you get over that 2 gig limit, it starts malfunctioning. And so it'll work perfectly fine at first. I mean, someone might buy a card that's way bigger than they ever need to use to store pictures on their phone and might never find out there's a problem. Or they might find out there's a problem like 3 years after buying it and think that it
Right.
just, died and never realized that they were scammed. But yeah, I had that happen because I was loading up those SD cards and it kept happening at the same point. And that's when, I Googled it and someone said, well, you might want to run this test to make sure it really has the space on there. And so that's when I was like, okay, fuck you, Amazon, because Amazon ain't protecting us.
Right. Well, so you get something, you return, you hit the test on it, and then you pop it in the thing and print off the return tag.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is at that point, I mean, a few weeks had passed, they've been opened up, so I could have returned it, but I had already thrown out the envelope, and so I got to find another envelope. I got to print up a label.
You have to test it right away.
Yeah, I ended up not returning them. I think they were like really cheap anyways. It was so cheap that
Right.
it was like, well, that's why they were that cheap. And so that's why I don't.
And that can happen with a brand name like SanDisk through Amazon.
Well, that's the thing is that these had brand names on them, but they were knockoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they printed up packaging that said SanDisk or Samsung. I think they might have been Samsungs or something like that. But they were, So yeah, you just don't know what you're getting or who you're buying it from when you buy from Amazon. So and Amazon is still the Wild West. They've not gone all eBay on their sellers yet.
Right.
Oh, SanDisk. Yeah, I got one of those, 128 gig. And then I put 10 gig of, damn it. I put 10 gig of stuff on it and stopped working. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It says this full. But here's the thing. I tried to use it on the XP machine. Apparently they don't like, XPs because of the weird format. EX
exFAT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but I was able to format it to NTDS, whatever.
NTFS. Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked.
Well, exFAT is good because exFAT easily goes back and forth between Windows and Mac. So that might be why that defaulted to an exFAT at first. Because I don't know if a Mac will know what to do with an NTFS formatted disk. So generally the recommendation is to use
Fuck
exFAT
Max.
when going if you want to go between if you use both kinds of computers, formatting with exFAT is the way to go, apparently.
Apparently.
Well, the problem I have is that XP will support FAT32, and FAT32 will support large-size disks, but Windows XP will only let you create a partition so big with FAT32, even though FAT32 can support larger than what XP lets you do. So then you got to start like finding third-party softwares to create larger partitions, some weird shit like that. Well, we're getting off topic. The topic is 2019. What a year! Or what are our plans? Or how was everyone's Christmas? Or what do we do? What's everyone doing for New Year's? There we go. Why don't we'll do that. Anyone got any cool plans?
You done?
Go ahead, Lulu.
No. I'm just asking. Like this is like a repetitive topic that keeps coming up, like with electronics and stuff that.
Well, Brian and I and Venison, we all geek out on the electronics quite often.
Well, you geek out, but you don't have to splooge.
I think we've been told.
Okay. Well, how about this? I just bought about $100 worth of capacitors.
Oh fuck!
Ooh. You're going
Please
to
tell me-
more.
Drunk.
Oh,
Like,
God.
well, it's about how much capacitors are in a 1949 Zenith TV. About $100
Well, thank
worth.
God you're actually working on the Zenith TV instead of just letting it rot in your house.
Oh, it's not too late. It might still rot yet, but well, you
Why
saw.
didn't you recycle? Hey, Johnny, why didn't you recycle it?
I want to use it.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily want to fix it, but I want it to work. And
Do you have good schematics that you can tell you what capacitors they are? What values they are?
I have two service guides for it.
Good.
And they both have good schematics, and one of them, the non-Zenith one, has a really good schematic, has a listing of all the capacitors that are numbered, and they're numbered on the schematic, and it also has pictures of the chassis that points out and labels where the capacitors are by number, and same for the tubes
Nice.
and the resistors.
So do you have to build the whole thing again? Like the whole I don't want to call it like a motherboard because it's not a motherboard. It's
chassis.
it is a chassis. I thought it
But
was
and a circuit
it's-
board.
Yeah. Well, no.
Okay, so
no.
it is a circuit board.
No, there's no circuit board. It's metal and a bunch of parts just kind of soldered into place.
Point-to-point wire.
I mean, yeah, point-to-point wire. I mean, there's a bunch. The thing's got 28 tubes, so you got a bunch of tube sockets on the chassis, and then you got a bunch of components and wires that are soldered and connected to the the tube sockets and to
so
one
the whole
another.
circuit looks a lot like a waterfall. Wires coming off the. Okay, so again, tube sockets on the chassis,
Right.
wires coming down to various components that are also soldered to other components to other wires. So you have all these wires and components, shall we say, flowing down from the chassis, right?
Well, no, it's soldered pretty tight, and it's probably it's. I mean, there's a lot of components that are just soldered to one another and to the sockets and some wires, and it looks like
So you don't have a cascade of parts going away from the chassis.
no, they're all pretty. It's pretty
okay.
tight. It's pretty
Okay.
tight, which
Okay.
means that I
Well,
might.
when you got a good view of that, take a picture and pop it on Twitter. That would be good.
Yeah.
Well, heck, I could get a picture off the
No,
guide.
no.
The reason why I
no.
described that because there was a guy that wired up his own components to build his own computer, And it did literally look like a waterfall of water.
That's not how you want to build something. But now the downside to it being really tight though is that some things are kind of buried and it's little room to work with. So you got to kind of really get in there and
Right.
when you replace it.
That's where you wish your hands were a little bit smaller.
Yeah, or that yeah. It's I'll take some pictures and kind of show you. But you got there's different types of capacitors in there. The electrolytic capacitors are like these tin cans that are mounted to the chassis. And so you gotta take those out, and what a lot of people do is hollow them out, and then put the modern capacitors, which are a lot smaller, inside the can, and then solder that to the contacts so that it still looks the same, but just has the modern capacitors hiding inside the old
see. So
can.
the old can essentially becomes a fake can,
Right.
or fake capacitor.
Right. Well,
It
it's
just becomes a housing.
a housing for the real capacitor. For the
Yeah.
modern capacitor, that's much smaller. So I've but having the list of all the capacitors and having them labeled on a picture, the list made it really easy to go to a electronic website and start throwing all these values into my shopping cart
Right.
and making $100 worth of capacitors show up on a little box on my doorstep today. Now,
Well, no, that's
Right.
cool.
yeah.
I mean, it's nice to actually find out that you're actually working on this instead of seeing that the cat's sitting in it.
Well, the cat is also sitting in it. I mean, right now, yes, I got to watch a little bit of TV. It only gets in one program, Cats. But
Well, as long as you're not watching the movie.
So did you post a picture of the cat in the TV?
yes, I did on Twitter. You even liked it or
Oh.
retweeted it, I thought.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that was really
I'll have to look
cute.
at that again.
Yeah.
But if you can actually have the TV working and where you can actually watch,
It's going to take a long time, but that is the plan.
I'm sure it's going to take a long time, and I'm sure it's going to break a couple of times, knowing you.
Well,
But
yeah. Well,
And the rant will be on Twitter.
the problem is that there are certain parts that you can't have break because like the apparently.
oh no,
Well, the picture.
no,
The the picture tube is good.
yeah.
And now the other part that needs to be good that I guess we'll find out is the flyback transformer. Apparently, you can't just buy a new one of those anymore. So I think that's going to be the real. And I'm not sure because the guy pointed at it and said, "Now be careful cleaning that because if you break something on there, you're done. You have to buy another TV."
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, if that happens not to work, just sort of put some cushions in there and let it become a cat TV. You
Yeah,
can
we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll buy. That's the thing. I still,
hollow it out and let the cat sit.
I do keep an eye out of what on Craigslist and Facebook and things like that to see if other porthole TVs are being sold. Because if another one that uses the same chassis shows up for like $100 or less, it's probably worth buying just to have another set of parts sitting around.
Oh yeah.
So I do keep my eyes out. I've not found another one as nice as this one, which makes me kind of feel very lucky that I found this one. And not that it was because I drove far to get it. I drove up into New Hampshire, and I don't mean just right across the state line. I drove like a good hour into New Hampshire to buy this TV.
You drove into the boonies where you can get lost in the woods and no one will find you.
Yeah. Which was what was awkward is I stopped at the rest stop to let them know, yep, I'm on my way and I'll be there at around this time. They text back, okay, great, text because they basically wanted me to meet at a hardware store across the street from them because it was easier to explain where the hardware store is than it was to explain their address. So I get to the hardware store and I park and I wait for a text from them and I try to text them and then I realized, oh, I have no service here.
Oh.
I'm like, damn, it's like 15 minutes past the time we agreed to meet. Are they going to show up here? So at that point, I realized I have no service. So I start walking around, and sure enough, there's someone sitting in the car. And I'm like, hi. You waiting for someone looking for a TV? And I was like, I'm sorry, my phone has no service here. But yeah. But so I got the capacitors, so we'll start swapping them out just a few at a time. But the other thing is I bought a tube tester, and now I need to find
from Radio
That's
Shack?
handy.
No, from eBay. It's a Precision 1012 tube tester. They're pretty good, and there's a lot of information about them online.
Now that's handy.
Yeah, it's not a Hickok, but Precision made good tube testers too. But the problem is that, well, where do I find a tube tester?
Good question.
Well, you just keep testing tubes. Hopefully, new ones are good.
Well, no. What I found out is that the tube tester is lighting the bulb on the short test consistently for every tube I test. And these tubes are working in my radios. So I think I have a short in the tube tester. Well, here's the thing I find out. So after I make the $100 capacitor purchase, I post to the Antique Radio Forum, what do you do to, my tube tester is showing shorts on every tube I'm testing. Now, it's showing a dim light on the shorts test. Now, on the ones that are supposed to be short, it's lighting up really bright, but on the ones it's not supposed to be lighting up, it's lighting up dimly. So that suggests to me that it's kind of working, but it's not supposed to light up at that point. And so I did a little research, and apparently this tube tester has 3 capacitors in it, and I think that the capacitors play a role in the short testing, and that they're supposed to only let like AC go through and not DC, and so I'm thinking that I probably have 3 bad capacitors because the power cord was all janky, and I replaced the power cord. So I'm guessing the capacitors are probably a bit janky in there too. So of course, it's after I make the $100 capacitor purchase, I realized I wanted to throw an extra 3 capacitors into the shopping cart. So I had to order more capacitors before my first order even got in, which means that this guy that's running his electronics shop is like, what's wrong with this guy? $100 worth of capacitors wasn't enough for him. Now he's got to order another. And I couldn't order just 3 capacitors because they have a $20 minimum plus $7 shipping on each order. So that's $14 in shipping I've paid now. And so I basically pulled up another radio and ordered a bunch of capacitors to fix that up too, so I could get my order up to $20.
So,
Only the fine were knockoffs.
who wants to bet that he's going to start ranting on Twitter and start cussing out capacitors?
Oh, that's a
Yeah, because they were
Have you ever
knockoffs.
purchased from DigiKey?
DigiKey. No,
Yeah, DigiKey is an online outfit, been out there for many years. I don't think their limit is $20. I think it's much more. I mean, they specialize mostly in IC, and computer stuff, but I think they have capacitors as well.
No, I ordered from justradios.com, which is basically they sell
No.
capacitors specifically for fixing up antique radios, and they had
Sure.
every value I was looking for, because I read things that basically said if you can't find the value you're looking for in a capacitor, it's okay to get one that's close to that value. I usually round up a little.
Yeah.
I did not have to make any replacements. They had every value capacitor I was looking for.
Oh, so
So-
and support the guy that does what you're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, so yeah, that's justradios.com. I think is
Haters.
probably the best. Yes, Lulu.
Do they have a Twitter?
I don't know if they know what Twitter is. They're selling capacitors for antique radios. I don't
Do
know.
they have a Twitter? I'm just saying.
They have a
Because I have a-
yahoo.com email address. Is what they
I'm just saying, because if they have a Twitter, we'll be seeing them
they
being mentioned in your
And what's wrong with Yahoo email?
Nothing. It's just that I stopped using mine years ago because I got tired of getting advertisements every time I want to check my email.
Oh, I still use it.
Well, no, the worst was that they didn't like that I was using the default mail app on my phone. They wanted me to disable the ability for my mail app to use my Yahoo account, and then I would have to use Yahoo's app. And every other time I would go to check my email on the website, they would pop up this little nag thing going, you should really disable the ability for your mail app to check email. And it's like, no. After a year of clicking no every other time I check my email, I told Yahoo to fuck off, and I haven't looked back since.
Oh, well.
I find it is poor practice to nag someone with the same question every other time they go to your site and not give them a way to opt out of it. There was no way to opt out of this question. It nagged me every other fucking time.
So why do you still
No, that
commute
finally
on
went
the
away.
trains?
Why do I what?
Still commute on the trains.
What do you mean?
You can't opt out
Because
of it.
he's ragging about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's no other choice.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, they rolled another train company into this state, I'd be taking that train so quickly. Well, here's the thing. The problem is beyond our train company, because apparently I looked into it, and basically there was a company that they run trains in other countries, and they apparently have a good reputation, that got the contract some years ago, which pissed off the outfit that lost the contract. They're called Keolis. And so apparently, MBTA owns the trains and the equipment or whatever, but Keolis got the contract, so they're running the trains and they're maintaining the trains, and they're doing the same shit job that the previous outfit did. And, so the problem is that, well, they're using train lines and the switching equipment and stuff like that is owned by Amtrak, and Amtrak gives themselves priority over that. So when Amtrak fucks things up, they basically, tell the working people that rely on this to get to their jobs that, they can wait for, these fucking Amtrak trains to come through. And so you got that. And then you got that, MBTA owns these trains that are breaking down. Keolis maintains the trains, but state needs to be replacing the trains. So the problem is no one wants to take any fucking responsibility. It is completely and totally a clusterfuck. There is absolutely no organization to how this thing is run.
We were talking about. I was talking with. I met a guy at this party a few days ago, and we were talking about commuter rail in the U.S. and we were kind of chuckling.
Yeah, it's a fucking joke.
Particularly when Boston came up.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
we just had another
the
fucking
Bay Area
derailment.
has a mediocre train. I mean, that's where the homeless sleep.
We just had another
how good
fucking
it is.
derailment recently. So yeah, they're doing a great job here. It is. Well, here's the real problem. I mean, I recently figured out that there is the Worcester line in this state stops at a major sports field arena place that is right near where I work. And so I realized that, what I had been doing for a while was I was walking to a Green Line stop, taking the Green Line over to near Back Bay area, and then walking to, so basically I take like a 5-minute walk, take a Green Line, take another 5-minute walk, and then pick up my commuter rail from Back Bay. Well, it turns out I could just take a 5-minute walk to this stop that's near this sports field, and get the Worcester commuter rail train that's on its way back to South Station, and then catch my train out of South Station, which means I could actually get a seat instead of having to stand up, and also it's less walking. So I was doing that, and what I found out was that the train that I was catching on the Worcester line was the same train that would turn around and become my train. So I was getting on my train before my train even departed. And that was great and fine and dandy. And, so for about 2 weeks I'm doing this. I'm like, this is great. I get on my train before it even turns around and becomes my train. Once I'm seated in this train, I am seated till I get home. And then one day, the train's running slow. And I'm like, oh, man, that's a bummer that the train's running slow, because then that means my train's going to run slow because this train's going to become my train. So then the train is sitting somewhere between Back Bay and South Station. And, it's letting a bunch of other trains go in. And I'm like, looking at the phone, my train is boarding. The train I'm on is sitting outside of South Station. And I'm like, these fucking bastards bamboozled me. They're sending a different train as my train today. You can't do that to me. You can't, for 2 weeks turn this train around, making me think you always do this, and then the one day this train's running late, decide, well, we'll send a different train without any warning. So I literally had to run from, and of course they pull the train I'm on the completely opposite side of the train station than my departing train is on. And so I basically had to hoof it across the station and got into the train within seconds of them closing the door. Oh. So it's like you don't know what they're going to do.
And then you went to a different location?
Well, I got on the right... No, you see, I catch the inbound train from Worcester to get the outbound train towards Providence.
Right.
Because the inbound train from Worcester passes by close to where I work.
Right.
Gotcha.
So
have you thought about taking a bicycle?
My former supervisor, who was mostly useless to me, he used to commute from Providence to Boston, and about once or twice a week he would take the bike from Providence to Boston.
Now, are the trains bicycle friendly?
I think so, but I'd rather not. I
my brother lives in the Detroit area, and he rides a bike to work. And when it's shitty out, he puts the bicycle on the bus and rides the bus.
Yeah, I don't need to take a bike. I'm within walking distance of a train station, and once I get into Boston, as long as the green line's running fine, I can get to the office fine with a little bit of walking. The problem is that what I found out is that you can't rely on the commuter rail to do the same thing you expect them to do just because they did the same thing for 2 weeks.
What is the actual commute distance that you have?
Commute distance?
Total. Yeah.
All right. Let me map that. So from where I am to Boston is basically about 40 miles.
Which would be a little too long for a bike ride the entire distance.
Well,
The auto wants to put a motor on it.
Now, like I said, my former supervisor at my last job, he would take he would ride the bike about once or twice a week from Providence to Boston, which is a 50-mile distance.
Yeah.
He's a lot more in shape than I am. And he did almost get run over once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, Craig got hit by a car. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
You remember Craig from the accounting department?
I remember Craig. He had the bike suit. right?
Yeah, and he would ride in, from my area,
The
San
bike
Ramon,
seat.
and he was going past this shopping center, and this dumbass person drove out right in front of him.
So he hit the car.
But she pulled out from the parking lot, so she was at total fault.
It's better to hit a car than to be hit by a car. Is what I'm getting at. That's the better way for that to have happened.
I don't know. You still end up with a faceplant.
I don't know. If I had the option of car pulls out in front of me and I plow into a car with my bike, or car plows into me,
Depending on how fast the car is going, for sure. Yeah.
Certainly, I think the car has the potential to do a lot more speed in a much shorter amount of time than the bike.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah.
In other words, what you're saying, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, you could have got a hood ornament up the butt.
Most people that are going to do a bike with mass transit, it's because that's instead of like driving and parking to your train station. But my house is walking distance to the train station, so that saves me that trouble. So I really don't need to bike it, because then if I biked it, either I guess I could bike it to the train station and then lock it there, but I'm fine walking and I get to listen to my podcasts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm out of cigarettes.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Which can contribute to your stroke. Yay!
Maybe not.
Probable cause.
Everything's probable cause.
Probable cause. Yay!
Yeah, those ribs could also be a probable cause.
Uh-huh.
Your drinking can be probable cause to your stroke. Yay!
Yeah, even though I drink once a month.
Probable cause. Yay!
Should be drinking more, right? Oh, sorry, Venison. We're not trying to make fun of you. We're just making fun of you.
No, we're not trying to make fun of you. We're
just
succeeding.
bringing light to your issue. Yay!
We're succeeding at making fun of you.
Sorry, man.
The air out here, you got.
We're not trying. We're doing.
Right.
Not making fun of you, just making light of your issue. Bad
There we
choices.
go.
Yay!
There we go.
Lieutenant Commander Databerg says, more tech talk, please. I've been enjoying it. Let's see. Well, we talked about capacitors and the TV. Well, the tube tester, so I'm going to replace the capacitors in that and see if that fixes my shorts test. And then and then I can start testing the 28, 27, 28, 20-something. I have more than 25 tubes, which I took them all out of the TV. So now the question is, can I put them back in the right order? Well, no. That.
Right.
Oh my God!
No,
I
now,
hope you can.
Actually, a follow-on by other question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a good schematic for the tube tester?
Yes. Actually, Precision 10-12. There's lots of information about this tube tester online, which is part of the reason why I bought that model when one came up on eBay, because there was plenty of information about it. But the tubes, much like the capacitors, were all for the TV. Were all listed and numbered in the tech guide that I have for it. So I built myself a box with like compartments, and put the tubes all in the compartments in the order of how they're numbered on my schematic chart. So that way I can keep track of what's what, and then I can go through and test them all once I have the tester working. And if they all test good, yay. And if some of them need to be replaced, I change them out. And then once I've cleaned up the chassis and recapped it, I could put the tubes back in. And at that point, I call one of my contacts that I met through the antique radio forum and say, okay, I replaced a bunch of capacitors. Now what? And I'm hoping now what means I take it to someone else's house and we turn it on together, because I don't think I want to just plug it in and turn it on and hope for the best, because I have a feeling that if I try to plug it in on my own after doing all my own work on it, I'm going to let some of the smoke out.
Mm-hmm.
And well, this goes.
And you don't want to just take it out to the backyard and plug it in.
Well, I don't want to ruin it.
No, of course not.
You see, Gothard's dad is an electrician, and he came up with this brilliant theory on how electronics work. And the theory is that there's only so much smoke that's inside of each electronic device, and once you let all the smoke out, then that's it. It's done.
But
No?
have you
No?
seen
Is that not
an
how it works?
amplifier? Have you seen an amplifier like glow?
Well, I've seen the
Through the place where the speaker is.
well, I've seen the tubes glow.
Oh, I'm talking about the whole amp box.
Generally, that's bad. I think if the
That's
whole
a really bad
that's-
thing.
that's
Yes.
that's yeah. When metal
And that's before the smoke comes out.
yeah. If something's getting hot enough that you're making metal glow, that's something's gone wrong there.
Right.
Yeah. You know what is disappointing is I've not found an excuse to use my new favorite sound effect. I decided to go back to one of my friends on Facebook who has a great line that he loves to use, and so now I have the new bullshit sound effect.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit.
So expect to be hearing a lot of that in the coming weeks if we bring up a topic that is bullshit.
Right.
This is bullshit. Total bullshit. Oh, this is bullshit.
Bullshit. So I think I change all the capacitors, spend hours and hours and hours working on this, plug in the TV, and it goes up in smoke. You're gonna hear me going,
This is bullshit. This is bullshit.
Yes.
yes. So hopefully that's not how this goes down. I think I have to buy some resistors too.
Ouch.
Apparently
Damn it, Binks.
the resistors should tend to hold up better than capacitors, but there's some sand resistors inside this thing, and I think those are going to need to be replaced
Right.
because the sand seems to be coming off of them. And I think that might be changing the value of the resistance as you lose sand from your sand resistors, but I don't know. We'll find out. Generally, this is not a good starting project, but
No.
but I don't want a
Yeah,
small
well,
little cheap radio.
Look at
I
your
want
starting project. Look at your starting project as being the tube tester.
yeah.
The
there.
tube tester.
That's still quite a leap to go from three capacitors in a tube tester to 80 something capacitors and a 1949 Zenith portal television.
Don't you have a small radio you can try out first?
I do have some small radios, but I don't want small radios. I want a 1949 Zenith porthole TV. I want a television Christmas, Brian. I want a television Christmas. Don't you want a television Christmas? That was the big gift in the 50s. Was television. It was I got to bring it up. I got to bring up the song now. I mean, this is the dream. The dream. Black and white TV for Christmas.
I want a television Christmas, a world of
Yeah, right.
magic.
Are you familiar with this technology? It's like radio, but with pictures.
Just like a queen
And I realize the irony being that I am streaming in video right now. And I'm talking about this like it's new. But
Right. And this is a radio show.
in our home.
yes.
I want a
But I want a television Christmas, Brian.
with all the
That's the dream.
and the fun,
But again, as a starting project,
the whole world in the
That's all. Starting project. You know, your standard American whatever has 5 tubes. Right?
Yes, an all-American 5. Yeah, I do have that TV. And when I bought the 3 capacitors for the tube tester, I also bought the replacement capacitors that my little white Bakelite all-American 5 would need. But the thing is that radio is so simple that I look at that and I'm like, I could bang that out in 15 minutes on the weekend. That's I could handle that because it's not that many capacitors, and we'll fix up the tube tester. We'll fix up that radio. We'll see how that goes. It's still a huge step. Because here's the thing, is that people talk about, what you get like the vertical and the horizontal and the this and the that and the whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm changing capacitors and plugging it in and hoping for the best. Because, I understand that you got lines and they're vertical and they're horizontal. But when you start talking about the vertical section and the horizontal section and, I'm staring at the bottom of this TV and I'm seeing a bunch of really old capacitors, resistors, and I'm like, I don't know what's the vertical and what's the horizontal. I have no idea. All I know is I have a picture that has a little line pointing to, well, that's C27, and my chart says C27 is this many microfarads, and so snip, snip, solder, solder. There we go. And if I repeat this about 89 times, I should have a recap television.
Oh man, I left that TV back home. I have one that was like that. Replace one capacitor and the vertical will return. I never got around to it.
Oh.
And left it home.
So, do you understand how television works, Venison?
Yes.
Okay.
I did those too.
Okay, all right. So, do you think I could do this?
Maybe.
Dune,
not hopeful.
Dune writes in, I can fix it. Step 1, take the cat out of the box. Okay, Schrodinger. Step 2, put a PC monitor in the box. Phase 3, profit. No, it's not the same. It's just not the same. No, it's
well, look what we did with Retro Computer. We got this little thing called the Raspberry Pi, and we made a retro video game thing out of it.
Yeah, but
right?
but keep in mind you're talking to someone that's got a 32-inch Sony Trinitron TV in his dining room with a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and PlayStation 2 all wired to it. This is not the type of guy that's going to put a modern monitor inside of a 1949 TV and call it good enough. No. I'm going to be replacing a whole bunch of capacitors so that I can make it tune in channel 3 and hook up an RF modulator to the back of it. Because no one broadcasts in that range anymore. That's the bummer. That's the real bummer, is that you can't actually receive in over-the-air TV signals on these TVs anymore. Because you used to be able to do that up until relatively recently.
Yep.
But now the only thing you can do with them is get a RF adapter and set that to channel 3 and hook up other video devices. But I do have, like I said, I bought the box set of I Love Lucy. I've got a bunch of what was the game show that Groucho Marx hosted?
You Bet Your Life.
You Bet Your Life. I got a bunch of episodes of You Bet Your Life. And I could also get DVD and Blu-ray sets of Honeymooners. So there's plenty of old school TV I can watch on this thing that'd be time period appropriate.
Or you can just load it in one of those TV sites.
Yeah.
And watch them free.
Yeah, go to one of those sites that have all the programming from the Dumont network that didn't get thrown into the bottom of the Hudson River. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, some more streaming on a couple of those. and they're actually quite good.
But yeah, that's the dream. The dream is a working 1949 porthole Zenith television.
And that's why I need those SanDisk drives, because I got a shitload of movies on them now. Yay! I can sit back and watch them. Yay!
So, what's everyone doing for New Year's Eve tomorrow night?
Getting drunk.
Hoo-hoo.
What about you, Brian? You got like a party or something you're heading to?
No, we like to stay off the roads.
Well, I got to head down to Jersey tomorrow, because, well, usually we, every year, we have a New Year's Day celebration with the family. It used to be at my aunt and uncle's place, but now my cousin, she's got a better house for hosting than my aunt and uncle, so they just bring all the food over to their place, and we just meet over there. And yeah, so I drive down New Year's Eve, watch the ball drop with my with my dad and stepmom, if they stay awake, and then we go to sleep and we wake up next morning and go to my cousin's house. So yeah, so I gotta drive down to Jersey tomorrow.
Wonderful.
But
I don't have to go anywhere because I can't.
What about you, Lulu? Watching the ball drop with your mom and her boyfriend? No.
I'm going out with friends and getting fucked up.
Oh, there we go. That sounds like a better option.
Yes.
How's that different from any other day?
Oh, hard. Oh man, you get the drum fill for that.
I wish it was every day like that.
Sorry, that was a little bit cold.
No.
I can't buy weed till next month.
Fortunately, everybody was laughing.
Yes, but I gotta say, I took the time off between Christmas and New Year's, and the last 2 days I've been feeling a little under the weather, which worked out all right because it just made me kind of like a little drained. So I've spent like the last 48 hours just watching straight Fail Army. It's been great. Have you ever?
I'm sorry, what? What?
Fail Army, my favorite Twitch channel.
Oh, a Twitch channel.
If ever there was a TV show called Ow My Balls, it would be like watching Fail Army all day long. It's great.
Fail Army.
Oh yes, Fail Army. It just shows fail videos all day long.
So we watched the first 2 episodes of The Marvelous Miss Mabel on Amazon Prime. And here's the funny thing. We're just 2 episodes in, and the end of the show, she gets up on stage to do her comedy routine. And in both episodes, the cops come in and take her away and arrest her. So I think this is a common theme. It's a period show from it looks like it's the 60s sometime.
Interesting.
New York City, where things are moving constantly.
Well, I recently pulled out my Faulty Towers DVD and ripped all those episodes, so I've also started going through those. That's another classic show. That is one of those shows that only has 12 episodes and you wish there were more. But
yeah.
So in the first episode, she meets this guy, really likes him. They get married. They have a couple of kids. And he takes her to a comedy club where he does his act. And then she finds out that this act that he does is something that he saw Bob Newhart on the Carson Show. And he just goes, well, everybody takes stuff from other comedians. That's how it's done.
Well, but he didn't do it that well. So, in fact, like the first time we performed it, he got some good laughs. Later on, he does the act again, and nobody's laughing. He totally bombs.
Ah. But, and speaking of bombs, we have Da Bomb on the line here.
So, just to recap, you're going to take a modern PC.
A modern PC.
And you're going to pipe the video from the modern PC into an RF converter. So you can then pipe it into an old TV and watch it.
Well, I didn't say I was going to do it from a PC. Some people use VCR, some people use DVD players. I'll probably, throw a Roku stick or something like that.
I think the answer you're looking for with all those words is yes.
Not a PC. I might use. Okay. I might use some kind of.
I can still fix this. You can leave the house for an hour. I can have this running today.
No, it's I gotta stick with the original technology though.
I can even make the tubes light up and make it look pretty.
Yay!
And if you want to, I'm guessing I can even program a delay into it to where you turn it on and it waits 30 seconds before it actually comes on. If that makes you
No, it's gotta have that black and white glow.
Put a bow on it.
Hey, Dune.
Yes.
I bet we could come up with some LED tubes.
There you go.
No, it's got to use the original picture tube, even though it's actually not.
Okay. No, I'm talking about the tubes for the electronics.
Yeah. I know
they
you're
use
talking
LEDs, of course.
Actually, technically, I don't have the original picture tube. I think the picture tube in this TV was replaced at least once because it's a Zenith TV, but it's got a Philco picture tube inside of it. So
that was pretty common back in the day.
Yeah. At some point, this TV had its picture tube replaced, and
think about it.
Does it look like that it had resoldered?
I don't know, but it also has a large capacitor that was put in there that is more modern than all the other capacitors in there. So the guy looked at this and said, "Oh, this TV has been serviced some over the years. Whoever had this TV watched a lot of programs on it. Like this TV probably worked well into the 50s, maybe into the 60s.
Well, that's what
I don't know.
I mean, back in the day when they had the guy in the repair truck drive around, he probably had tubes that fit several different things.
Yeah, I mean this
TV make it work.
This TV's got Zenith, RCA, Sylvania. At least I think I saw at least 4 different manufacturer of tubes inside this thing when I pulled them all out. And like I said, it's on at least its second picture tube, and it's had at least a capacitor replaced. So this TV lived a life.
God, I just
go
ahead.
So if you're going to replace some tubes, are you going to get any from Russia?
No.
I think they still make them.
I think they still make them, but I see a lot of new old stock tubes because I actually
there's a bunch of new old stock stuff out there. That's the interesting thing is I think back. I'm trying to think as a kid where the last time I ever saw a tube tester was.
Radio Shack.
It probably. I remember like TG&Y, which is kind of like the early Walmart. I don't know if that was a national thing or not. But they had all the. I mean, Sears had one. Montgomery Ward's had one in the early days.
Right. Of course, you could buy a house from either Sears or Ward's.
That's true.
My brother's house is a Ward's house.
I think there was a Sears house that recently sold.
Huh.
That somebody actually, it was one of the original Sears houses that was still standing somewhere.
The only sad part is my brother doesn't have the actual original Ward's plans.
Oh, that's too bad.
And he doesn't really quite know where to look for them to get a replacement. But that'd be cool.
They're probably wherever Johnny's tube is.
Exactly.
No, the tubes are all in the basement.
So is the thing? Are you basically wanting to do this yourself? Is that what's going on?
Well, here's now keep in mind, I've done the thing where I buy a radio, I bring it to someone else, I give them hundreds of dollars, I have a working radio. The thing is that A, that's expensive, and B, I think there is a certain sense of satisfaction when you do it yourself. And C, it's much harder to find someone that's gonna work on a TV of that age than a radio, because it's another layer of complication.
It does take some know-how and equipment to do that, though. It's not like you just do it with a with a voltmeter.
Well,
not quite that easy.
No, it's not. And that's the thing, is that I did like I said.
Yeah, you can.
I know at least two guys that are nearby that seem to be willing to help. I mean, they're not going to do it for me. And I don't know that they would do it if I paid them to. And also, I don't know if I want to go that route. But like the guy that helped me test the picture tube, basically, I bought this TV, phase 1, buy the TV, phase 2. After you have this big monstrosity in your house, then figure out how you're going to do it. Because then you have to come up with a solution. So I went to the internet and I asked the internet, what do I do? And basically a guy said, well, hey, I'm in Massachusetts. I'm not too far from where you're at. I'll help you test the picture tube, because that's the first thing you do is you test the picture tube, because if you don't have a picture tube, you don't have a TV. And then you basically have a
now, has this
pile
thing
of
been
parts.
plugged in and turned on at all?
Thank you.
No.
So you don't know if anything works at all.
I've had the.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I apologize.
Internet says don't plug it in, because you probably break things. I brought the picture. I brought the whole thing. The whole chassis. To this guy's place, and we tested the picture tube, and he took a look at it, and he kind of, said, well, what you want to start doing now is you're going to want to get a tube tester, you're going to want to take the tubes out, clean this up, and you're going to want to buy a bunch of capacitors and replace the capacitors, and then you can bring it back here and we can, work on it some more. So I think if I go to, the amount of trouble and the work of replacing, about 80-something capacitors in this thing, and clean up all the tubes and test them with the tube tester.
Why does he assume the capacitors are bad? I just wonder.
Well,
just because of the age, I think that's a good thing.
Here's the thing: is that basically, when it comes to antique radios and antique TVs of that era, the wax paper capacitors and the electrolytic capacitors pretty much guaranteed to have gone bad.
Oh, okay. They're all solder-in things?
Yeah, they're all soldered in. Now, some people will just kind of clip them out and then like twist the leads of the new ones around what's left there and solder that in. Or you could unsolder them and solder the new ones in on the contacts. It's but pretty much it's now not all the capacitors, because some of the capacitors are mica capacitors, and those basically tend to hold up better than the wax paper capacitors and the electrolytics. But yeah, you basically want to switch out all the electrolytic and paper capacitors. They're probably, if they're still working, they're probably not working that great. They're probably going to go. It's just.
Have you already started buying these things?
I bought about $100 worth of capacitors.
And by the way, I was looking up those sand resistors, and I tweeted an article I came across. Apparently, the sand resistors are basically, one of the designs of resistors is, different metals and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
But a common type for sand is you have a metal wire that's like coiled.
Right.
And then they embed or cover with sand. So even if the sand is going, it's probably okay.
Well, maybe they
will.
But
just, test the value. That's all.
Yeah. Basically, resistors hold up better than capacitors. Certainly with a radio. If you get a radio on the bench and you replace all the capacitors and you test the tubes, tubes hold up better than capacitors, basically. I mean, a lot of people probably assume, oh man, the tubes are probably bad in that thing because tubes had to be replaced and they die. But no, tubes hold up better than capacitors do. You might
Right.
be able to get away with just replacing capacitors and having a radio that works fine. So yeah, test your
Right.
tubes, replace your capacitors. That's gonna get you by for most old antique radios you buy. Now you might have some resistors that are starting to drift in value. So if you're having some problems, then you might start take your little multimeter and start testing your resistors.
Back in the 80s, I got a quote unquote free TV, color TV.
Oh, color.
That was it was 19-inch, so it was bigger than what I had,
Mhm.
and I was going to work on it. Now you could plug it in, and you did get a picture, so the picture was good,
Okay.
but there was a lot of noise, so things had to be replaced.
Hmm.
But it did function, so I started a much higher level, and I kind of looked it over and looked at the schematics. I played with it a while. And set the project aside, and then eventually I send the damn thing to the landfill.
That tends to be.
So I didn't
usually,
complete it.
Yeah, it's usually what happens with a TV.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but it wasn't vintage like yours.
Yeah, I don't think 80s TVs are ever going to be collectible.
Right.
But who knows?
It's
Yeah,
like
no,
almost like
no.
console TVs.
I bet you can go to the dump and you find all kinds of those things.
Oh yeah, actually,
Console TVs never die; they just turn into TV stands.
Right.
Well, actually, I took my 50 TV and made a video scope out of it.
yeah, no,
That's
no.
what happened. Just set the new TV on top of the old TV.
That's exactly what Venison did. I know this because when I visited him.
It was
Now,
first-
if it didn't have a glass front on it, you could remove the tube and you could have a place for the cat to sit.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, but that's the thing is that I love the look of the round screen TV because they really only made those a few years because it was into the early 50s is when they figured out that you could make a square tube, and at that point and
Right.
also most of Zenith did the portal thing. Other manufacturers they used the round tubes, but they made the cabinet cut the top and the bottom off, so you kind of got a squares top and bottom with rounded sides.
Right. You're just getting a smaller image.
Right, and
Right.
the picture on the Zenith TV, you can set the height so that it does actually display the picture with the top and bottom cropped, or you could stretch it out to use the whole screen. You had options there, but generally, if you're gonna get your typical 4:3 aspect ratio, you're cropping your top and bottom of your round tube, and you're losing some corners. So it's really not an ideal way to watch TV, but it's cool because it's it's got a unique look to it.
Now, have you thought about buying a transmitter?
No. There's just really basically at this point it's piping.
Pirate TV.
At this point,
Think about it.
You get an RF adapter and you pipe old programming into it that way. That's pretty much what you do with these or you get a because there are people that will still buy
I wonder if that's a thing. People have like
you know
pirate signals for TV.
Oh, I think it's a thing. I mean, I know people will buy like AM transmitters for their AM radios. I have an AM transmitter. I have the cheapest AM transmitter money can buy, and it sucks.
And FM transmitter, too.
Yeah, but I'm talking TV stuff. There has
Right.
to be someone
Yeah.
out there doing
Probably. I mean, typically people, will buy like either a one of those set-top adapters so that you can watch broadcast TV on a TV. Because I mean, it's still worth setting it up to watch. Cause there's something cool about tuning in the modern evening news on a 1949 portable TV, and kind of keeping it alive, doing what it was built to do, watch broadcast TV. It's a bit of a bummer that you have to use a
you do
modern
that?
tuner. How do you do what?
I used to give those away.
Transmitter. I'm
Well, I don't know.
thinking
The thing is, it'd be trying to find one that's small enough though, because
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, of
somebody
course.
somewhere,
All right. Let's.
somebody has to have one.
bootleg TV.
It makes you wonder what happened to all the ones they had in all the TV stations.
All right, let's see. I'm Googling, let's see, TV transmitter channel, Amazon.com. HomeSpot Bluetooth transmitter for TV audio. No, that's not the right thing. Wireless signal transmitter, 5.8. No.
You have to go on the dark web for this.
Yeah, you might have to. It depends. Wireless HDMI video transmitter. No. Creating a home TV transmitter fills old radios. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Now that TV broadcasts have gone digital, what is a television collector to watch? Of course, you can hook up a DVD or VHS tape player to watch recorded material on channel 3 or 4. You can also use a converter to watch digital TV broadcasts on an analog set. I prefer to watch television the old-fashioned way, with a rabbit ear antenna. I also like to use my vintage TVs anywhere in the house, free of wired connections.
Oh, this is your man right here.
My solution is a home TV station. It covers the whole house and it can be received by as many old TVs as I feel like powering up. Let's have a TV party. This impromptu TV party shows my transmitter in action. The color set is my restored RCA CTC 11H. The black and white set at the lower right is my Dumont RA 103. On top of the Dumont are 2 handheld TVs, a type which can only receive through an antenna, a Panasonic television, and a Sony Watchman. All 4 TVs are receiving through their antenna from my home broadcasting station. Okay, let's get down to this.
See, this is what's funny. I'm going to hope that in this thing, it has a great big dial on it. And the dial says, never put this above 1 because that would be illegal. But it goes to like 40.
Let's see. Yeah. Setting up this home station was easier than connecting a typical DVD player. The heart is a device called an agile modulator, specifically a Blonder tongue model AM60-550A.
Agile modulator.
I'm
sorry I had to do it.
All right, I got to copy this model number and go over to eBay right now and see. Like,
oh god, here we go. If the authorities are listening, this is purely for educational purposes.
Okay, I could buy one of these for $62.99 and free shipping.
Ching.
Now I don't know what else you have to do to this thing though, because I've just started reading. I paid $26 for a surplus AM6550A on eBay. It has ample power to reach throughout our house using a set of rabbit ears as a transmitting antenna. Blonder Tongue made a couple of different versions of this agile modulator, AM40 and AM60. The first number, 40 or 60, refers to the output power. The AM60 has a higher output, but the AM40 should work if you're not trying to broadcast a great distance. The second number,
amplifier,
450 or 550, refers to the highest frequencies that the modulator can reach. Since those frequencies are far above the highest frequency used in VHF television, either 450 or 550 will work just as well for this purpose. So basically, you get one of these things. If you buy one of these, it's worth getting the owner's manual. You're going to need something to kneel down on while you're hooking up all the wires. Which explains how to set the output controls. This allows you to get maximum transmitting power without audio or video distortion. The manual is free upon request from Blonder Tongue. Phone the service department at 1-800-523-6049 and tell them the stock number and model number stamped on the rear panel. Connecting your video source, hooking up the transmitter couldn't be simpler. It has one input and one output. For input, I often feed the transmitter from one of our cable TV boxes, but you can use any source that produces standard audio-video output, a DVD or VHS player, digital converter, video camera, and so on. Whatever you choose will be broadcast to any TV in the house on the channel you select. On the back of the Blonder Tongue are jacks labeled. So I could basically buy one of these boxes and then set it to broadcast, like if I want to watch ABC on channel 7, I could set it to transmit on channel 7 and tune in a tuner to ABC. And then if I decide, well, I want to change the channel and see what's on UPN, I could go to my modulator and set the frequency to channel 9, change the channel on my box, and then I can flip the dial of my TV and watch UPN on channel 9. That's a lot of work to change channels.
But fun.
Yeah, but fun. Especially if you build your own amplifier. Then you transmit to the neighborhood.
What I could do is I could buy like a bunch of these boxes off eBay. Like, let's see, I'm going to need one for CBS. I'm going to need one for NBC. I'm going to need one for Fox.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is
How much do these
all
cost
above
again?
level.
And then I buy digital boxes for each of those channels. And then I could just, like run like, 10 of these boxes at a time. So that way I can literally flip through channels. It'll be just like watching TV in the old days.
I mean, think about it. every 5 or 6 minutes you roll a little commercial with a PayPal account. This is a win-win. Maybe after 11 o'clock, show a little, bow chicka wow wow stuff.
Bow chicka.
Who wasn't thinking of that?
You wait till the kids go to sleep. It's okay.
I was, but I wasn't saying anything.
Now, here's the weird thing about this TV. The weird thing is that the channels are not in number order. It runs through the channel evens and then odds. So if I turn the channel knob, it goes to channel 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then it goes to a blank spot, and then it goes to 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And I don't know why it does it that way, but it probably has something to do with the fact that turning the dial literally turns this like cylinder of circuit boards literally around something. So
it's a massive gang switch.
yeah.
Yeah. I've seen those.
Since this thing is available, I mean, how many people are actually doing this with power amplifiers, being bootleg TV stations?
Somebody has to be.
Well, at least. This guy Phil is.
Yeah.
But he's only doing. But this thing is only running enough power to do this in your house. I don't think is
like I said, people build amplifiers.
I mean, do FCC vans even exist anymore? I mean, come on.
Well, there's one way to find out.
Yeah.
We'll get right on that.
Well, I think it all depends on who complains. If your neighbor complains that he's getting noise on his TV from your bull crap.
Mm.
Well, I don't think it would. It's a totally different frequency.
Well, that's the thing. I'm doing this in the frequency range that people don't use anymore. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It is used for something now. I think it's used for like alarm systems or something.
Yeah. So maybe I'll.
Right. But again, if just the neighbor complains because he's getting some noise, that's not going to go anywhere. But if you interfered with a large corporate, let's say you hit something that Comcast was using. You don't think the FAA would be on your case?
I don't think you have to worry about it.
I'd be quite impressed if I pissed off Comcast.
Although now apparently it's not called Commie-Craft.
Here's the thing. If I set up something like this in my house and I ended up pissing off Comcast with it, I'd be bragging about that.
I think you just go complete Bart Simpson. Hey, wasn't me.
That'd be a great story. That'd be a great story. Hey, remember the time that I transmitted TV in my house and the Comcast van pulled up and knocked on my door over it? Remember that? Wasn't that funny?
Right.
Oh, we'd have a good laugh over that.
Story.
Yeah.
It would be.
That would be. I don't think that's how it's going to end, but that would be.
Especially if it was a guy that goes, "Hey, weren't you at the tree?" That'd be even better.
I think I got to fix up the TV before I start buying broadcast equipment, though. But you know what? I could transmit this show, and then I could watch my own show on my TV while I'm doing it.
There you
go. There we go. And then I could boost the power a little bit, and I could tell the neighbors hey, if you turn on channel 7 at 8 o'clock on a Monday night, you could catch me on the Airstream.
But make sure and have them get on Twitch too, so we can get the number. I mean,
just put on the computer for the count, but watch me on the TV.
Right.
There we go. So now I got Dune on board with actually fixing up this TV properly, so that we could play TV station.
Yeah, if you can do it, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I've I actually want to.
I may be playing PC Builder some days. So
there is a guy that lives 15 minutes from me that has like about 50 antique restored TVs on shelves in his basement. That I could take.
I know a guy.
The plan is to test the tubes, replace any tubes that need replacing, replace a bunch of capacitors, and then put this thing in my car. Give this guy a call and say, hey, what are you doing this weekend or next weekend? And bring the TV to his place for the plug in, turn it on. He'll probably have me plug it in through one of those variable variac things so that you don't power it up on full power right away. So he can give it a look over and do a little make sure everything looks on the up and up, and if it's not working, then he might be able to help with the real troubleshooting at that point. And he'll know where to look, take it to the next step. I'm going to do the busy work and then bring it to the guy that has restored several of these and work on it together with him. And I think a lot of these guys, they like seeing people in a younger generation than them taking interest in these things. So people are willing to help.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's a pretty solid plan.
Tell me about your master plan about your...
What's that?
So make sure and tell me your master plan about your new TV station you're starting at.
The new TV station. There we go. But on that note, we've reached the end of another.
Yep. I gotta get to.
Oh, well, what have you learned though? You got to stick around for what you learn. You got to.
I tell you exactly what I learned. that you can be talked into things that are questionably legal, and I like that. I dig that about you.
I don't see anything questionably illegal about it though. I mean, I'm not.
No question.
Hey, what happens within these walls is my business.
There you go. Okay.
I knew a guy in college that was studying electronics and electrical engineering, and he had a tiny, and this is back in the mid-'70s, a tiny transmitter, I can't remember if it was AM or FM, that transmitted radio signal. And he was nervous about the FAA showing up, even though it wasn't that strong. But you could get little transmitters fairly easily.
Oh yeah, I have an AM transmitter, and it actually does have a connection that you could hook it up to an external antenna if you so chose to.
Right.
It was fairly cheap, and it sucks.
And you get the Radio Shack wireless microphone. FM wireless mic.
Mr. Microphone.
No, not Mr. Microphone. It was just a rectangular box. Little one.
Well, there's a lot of wireless
Same
mics
kind of
that are
deal.
out there that are on an FM frequency, but those are approved frequencies.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it was proved and all like that. But again, antenna limitations, and you can't put a power amp on it.
Right.
Like we paid attention to
I don't
that.
know. Give me a screwdriver and a soldering iron. We can get an antenna, get an amplifier right on that thing.
Yeah. I had a range of about 2 miles.
I knew it.
Was this before or after you cooked a hot dog?
Oh, I was well before. I was only 14 then.
All right. You the man. You are the man.
Yeah. I've learned that venison has no problem violating the FCC.
Violating the rules.
It was only 2 miles. They're not going to hear you.
So Brian, what have you learned this week, this year, this whatever?
Yeah, I learned that, you could be your own TV station. I think that's a cool idea. Got to do it.
I might, you know what? If I get this TV working, that's going to be phase 3. Lulu, you still around?
Looks like she's gone.
Oh, we chased her off with our tech talk.
And and Dune just bailed.
Okay. Well, anyways, that brings 2019's season.
Hey,
That's right. You didn't tell us what you learned. You told us what you did. Okay, Venison, what have you learned?
well, I learned about the TV thing too, and I'm interested, but I also learned capacitor, tube, capacitor. I'm on the wrong train.
Ah. Well, that's what really breaks down the fastest it seems. But anyways, that brings 2019 season of
Insert title here.
to a close. And you know what? At some point, we need to have a show meeting. And I think I'm going to propose that if we can't all get on a call next weekend, that maybe we should have a show meeting next Monday instead of a show and start 2020 after we have a show meeting. Because I do want to see if we can get team talk going, see if I can get some green screen action going, and seeing if we can take this to the next level for 2020. So I don't know what you guys are up to this weekend.
Getting drunk.
Perfect.
I think I'll be in at the beach house.
For the weekend?
Probably.
And for the Monday?
We'll be back here.
Okay.
We've got something on our calendar on Monday, so
all right.
We need to be back.
All right. Well, stay tuned to the.
Also, too, I want to leave you with one thing for about 2020.
Okay.
Science Channel, how the universe works. That show. Okay, they did a thing, commercial, where they went, the universe started with a bang. So will 2020. And they showed an asteroid headed toward Earth. Now, when they started doing that, they scared the hell out of me.
Wasn't 2012 supposed to be the year that it all went bang?
Oh, well, so, the calendar's all screwed up.
So that's completely different.
Anyways, all right. So I think next week is going to be a little brief 2020 hiatus while we get the next year in order. Stay tuned to @JohnnyGators on the Twitters for further announcements. But if all goes as planned, we will start the year on the 13th. Hopefully with some cool green screen action, with some more webcam action, and with maybe even some VHF action. No, not maybe for 2021. Also, I'm hoping to bring marriage counseling back in the coming year. So keep an eye out for all that and more. Now, I think we should see if there's anyone around to raid. So let's see who is live right now.
I wonder if I got enough energy to go to the store.
I don't. Oh, is there anyone live that I know? Because I don't feel like raiding someone with one viewer that doesn't even know me and be like, well, who are you and who's your one viewer?
And what do you want?
Yeah, the Elephant Ballet ain't live, and Ray Rachel isn't live. There usually are two raidees.
Hey, make me write a song. He's cool.
I don't know that. Anyways, you know what? We only got one viewer, and I think that's my tab that's up. That's watching the chat room. So thank you everyone for joining us this year, and we will be back in 2020 with picture-in-picture, and team viewer, and better audio and everything. Hopefully, if we get this, we hope so, because show meeting next Monday. And we'll see you all then.
Or wait for 3 months to see him complain.
Well, yeah, there's that too. All right, thank you, everyone.
Why isn't Team Talk working?
We'll figure it out. Good night.
See ya.
Why isn't YouTube working with Twitch?
All right. Good night, everyone. Let's hit this.
All right. See ya.
Yep.